back again with morning coffee with Genesis and the hot June Louisiana South. So Joseph has been appointed over Egypt. Then Pharaoh says to Joseph, "See, I've set you over the whole land. The whole of Egypt, you are the boss." So Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, put it on Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in fine linen robes, put a gold chain around his neck, and he made him ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, "Bow the knee." And he set him over all the land of Egypt. So Pharaoh said, "I am Pharaoh, and without you no man will lift up his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." So Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zephanath Paneah, and gave him for his wife Asenath, the daughter of Potipher'swife, priest of On. This is the same Potiphar for whom he had previously worked. No kidding. How you like that? So he's married to Asenath, who happens to be the daughter of Potiphar, and most likely the woman that accused him of that mess. So he was a servant of a guy who was a priest of a false god. Interesting. But he still served him. He just wasn't one of the worshippers. That's interesting. Anyway, and Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt, and he was only 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out of the presence of Pharaoh and went out all the land, getting ready, get through all the land of Egypt. He started organizing and strategizing. And in the 7 plentiful years, the earth brought forth by handfuls, just tons of food, bumper crops. Cows were probably having twins and staying fat too. And he gathered up all the food of the 7 years which were in the land of Egypt, and laid up the food in the cities. The food of the field, he laid it up in that same city. And Joseph gathered the grain as the sand of the sea, very much, until he stopped numbering it, for it was without number. So Joseph had 2 sons before the years of famine came, whom Asenath, the daughter of Potipher'swife, priest of On, bore to him. His mother-in-law is that woman. But she keeps her mouth shut. And Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh. For he said, "God has made me forget my toil and all my father's house." And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Then the 7 years of plentifulness that were in the land of Egypt were ended, and the 7 years of famine began to come according as Joseph had said. And the famine was in all lands, but there was bread in all the land of Egypt. So when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread, and Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph. Do what he tells you." And the famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians, and the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. And all the countries came into Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was that bad everywhere in the surrounding area. Now when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob, Joseph's daddy, Jacob said to his sons, "Why are y'all looking at one another? Look, I've heard that there is grain in Egypt. Get over there and buy us some food so we can live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt, but Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's little full brother, with his other brothers, for he said, "Perhaps disaster might befall him too." And the sons of Israel came to buy grain among those who were all coming in from the surrounding areas and lands, because that famine was far and wide, all the way to Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and it was he who sold to all the people of the land. So he is managing the going in and come of people and selling of his grain, because he's making sure he knows who is getting it. and making sure no one steals it. So Joseph's brothers came and bowed themselves down before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers, but he pretended to be a stranger to them and spoke rough to them. "Where did you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." And Joseph knew his brothers didn't recognize him. And he remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them and said, because he's remembered them bowing down like all these grain stalks bowing down to him. And that dream he told them about and they didn't like. And he said, "You're spies. You've come to see the nakedness and vulnerability of the land." And they said to him, "No, my lord, but your servants came to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies." So Joseph said, "No, but you came to see the nakedness of the land." And they said, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not." And Joseph said to them, "That is what I said to you, saying you are spies. Here is how you will be proved. By the life of Pharaoh, you will not go forth from here until your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him go get your brother, and you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be proved, whether there is any truth in you. Or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies." And he put them all together in custody for 3 days. And on the 3rd day Joseph said to them, "Do this and live, for I revere God. If you on the 3rd day, if you are honest men," he told them this on the 3rd day, "if you are honest men, let one of your brothers be bound in the house of your prison. Go carry grain for the families of your houses. I'll let you go feed your folks. But bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you won't die." And they did so. And they said to one another, "We are truly guilty concerning our brother, and that we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not listen." Now they're finally feeling a little guilty about what they did to Joseph. "Therefore, this distress has come upon us." In other words, we're reaping what we sowed. And Reuben answered them, saying, "Did I not tell you, saying, do not sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Therefore, behold, all his blood is required of us now." And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them and wept. Then he turned back around again and spoke with them, and took Simeon from them, and bound him before their eyes. Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with grain, and to restore each man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain, and left from there. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey some feed at their pit stop, where they were staying for the night, he saw his money. For behold, it was in the sack's mouth, his money. And he's like, "Whoosh. My money is restored, and see, it is even in my sack." And the other brothers' hearts failed them, and they were very afraid, saying to one another, "What is this that God has done to us?" But they're blaming God. And they came to Jacob, their father in the land of Canaan, and told him all that happened to them, saying, "Hey, this man who is Lord of the land spoke roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we told him, we are honest men, we're not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is today with our father in the land of Canaan." And the man, Lord of the country, said to us, "Here's how I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for the famine of your households. And you just leave, go. Then bring your youngest brother to me, and I shall know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men. Then I shall deliver your brother to you, and you could travel in the land." And it was as they emptied their sacks that, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob, their father, said to them, "You have grieved me Joseph is not, and Simeon is not, and you will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. And Reuben spoke to his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I do not bring him back to you. Deliver him into my hand, I shall bring him to you again. And he said, My son will not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he alone is left. If disaster befalls him by the way in which you go, then you will bring down my gray hairs to the grave in sorrow. That's so sad. Jacob. Poor Jacob. So this whole time he thinks his child is dead. And his child is the one who has, grown child now, has sent him the food. And he thinks that he's going to lose the other child. So, meanwhile, we will see them go back to Egypt. And that'll be tomorrow. Bye.